Recently, I've been asked a few times on the subject of buyer brokerage, meaning when you enlist the services of a real estate agent or broker for the purpose of helping you find your next house or find a home or find an investment or that the acquisition of a property versus selling a property. So on the acquisition side, you typically work with what's called a buyer broker or a buyer agent. In some markets in New Mexico, we call it a buyer broker. And I've been asked a few times, what's the value, or why would I not just call each listing broker and when a house comes on the market and have them handle the transaction? And we're not going to go into dual representation or to dual agency. What I want to cover on this video is the value of having a buyer broker work for you. And when I say having a buyer broker work for you, I really can't speak for other brokers out there. I don't always know what services they provide. I can only tell you what to expect if you enlist Jill and I to help you find a house. And this list is an extensive list, so I don't know how long this video is going to go, and I'm not going to cover all of it, but I want to cover pieces of it. So the first thing is we try to take a really in-depth interview, not just regarding what you want in a house, and where you want to live as far as location, but how you're going to live in the house, how long you're going to live in the house, what are specific needs, like maybe you need in-law quarters, or maybe you have a child that needs special accommodations, or maybe you have a lot of pets, or maybe you have a whole bunch of a large family, and so you need certain specifics. So when we take an interview or when we meet with our buyers and we start the process of looking for a house, we really want to dig in and find out what you're looking for and the way you're going to live in the house, your lifestyle. So for example, just here in Albuquerque, here's an easy example. If you're the kind of person that likes to go out into the backyard and barbecue and cook out every day after work or on weekends a lot in your backyard and spend a lot of time in your backyard, then you don't necessarily want a house that's east facing, that has a west facing backyard, because the sun here in Albuquerque is so intense around 4, 5, 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock at night in the summertime that it is just almost unbearable. So those are little things that we ask you when we're talking to you and we're setting up the search for the house. Now realize you can go on Zillow, you can go on Realtor.com, you can go on Trulia, on any of the sites out there and do a search. But with a good buyer broker, really understanding what you want in the MLS system, we can do a much deeper search criteria, or open it up a little bit more in the case of these markets that we've been in where we have smaller inventory amounts, lower inventory. And so sometimes knowing what you want will open the search up, but then eliminate the houses that don't match up with what you're looking for. And that's a huge thing, because when Zillow sends you another listing, or Realtor, whoever you use, sends you one, they're just giving you basically a general search criteria. Whereas we've interviewed you and we're going, yeah, but this house doesn't quite meet these needs. Maybe you need 3 showering areas, and we can see that it's got 2.5 baths, but on many of the websites that rounds up to 3 baths, and you think there's 3 bathing areas, but there's only 2.5 baths and not a third bathing area. And if that's your need, then we're gonna be able to sift through that and say, yeah, it's a good looking house, it's beautiful, it's got a lot of appeal, but it doesn't have something that you need. So when we just in the search criteria alone, the customized search criteria that we do as brokers is way above what you can get online. Then we're out looking for houses, and we're walking through the houses. As we look at houses, potential acquisitions, we can do a quick market analysis. Now, granted, you can go to Zillow and get a Zestimate, but that doesn't always take into consideration additions, updates, windows, roofs, different things that determine value. We can do that. So literally on the fly or very quickly, we can look at a house, and before you make an offer or while you're considering making an offer, we can sometimes right there on the spot or very quickly grab a laptop and do a market analysis on that property and see if it's potentially overpriced, or if or maybe it's at the top of the market, or maybe it's statistically it's not at the top of the market, but for the neighborhood it is at the top of the neighborhood. And there's an old rule that says you don't want to be the biggest, most expensive house in the neighborhood. You don't want to own that one. You want to own one that's a little smaller, and so that you gain the appreciation of the whole neighborhood gaining in value. And so we can do that literally almost on the fly, or very, very quickly before you have to make a decision. And then there's always the property showings, getting you into houses. I mean, there's that's everyone expects that from their buyer broker, to be able to get you into the house. The big thing is that sometimes when we see a house and we know it fits your criteria perfectly, and we've already interviewed you and we know when you're available to look at houses, we can book a showing ahead of time before we've even contacted you. On certain times we've done this, where we grabbed a 5:45 appointment or a 6:30 appointment before they were all taken, and then called our buyers and said, you're looking at a house today at 6:30 because this one fits your criteria beautifully. And so you don't get that if you don't have a great buyer broker working for you. So not that we can make decisions, but sometimes we will take make some decisions as far as booking appointments, because we can always cancel an appointment if we need to. But the thing of it is that if you don't have someone working for you, you see a house come on the market, and by the time you get home from work and you go, oh, this is a good one, and let's book a showing tomorrow, or book it with the listing broker, or call someone, or just reach out on Zillow or whatever, and then the house is gone. We just put a house on the market this weekend, put it on Sunday. We had 6 showings on Sunday and an offer come in that night. It was gone by Monday at noon. And so on some houses, you've got to move quickly, and you've got to have someone that has their head in the game, that's looking, that can make those decisions very, very quickly, or help you make those decisions. Not only that, you've got neighborhood information, you've got community information, you've got a ton of expertise that we can bring into your property search. Now then, and that goes without being said, but it needs to be said. Then you have negotiations and literally the purchase agreement. Our purchase agreements are lengthy, they're detailed, they have a lot of dates in them, they have a lot of criteria, there's a lot of outs in them. And having someone walk through the purchase agreement with you and literally say, here's some trip areas, here's some tricky spots in here, here's some areas that you need to be watching for, and here's how to make your offer better without spending way more money. Here's some maneuvers that we can make that can make your offer, rise above someone else's offer, or make it very appealing so that they just want to take your offer versus shopping you for the next buyer. And so knowing how to handle negotiations and how to literally position your offer to be, very, very clean and very, 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 very attractive. That's what a good buyer broker will also do for you. And maybe not pigeonhole you into, getting rid of inspections, but maybe there's something else that we can do with possession date, or maybe there's something else we can do with paying a closing fee, still allow you to have your inspections and have an appraisal contingency, but make your offer so appealing that a seller says, why would I wait for a better offer? But knowing how to do that, and knowing how to negotiate, knowing also, what things to let go, to let slide, and not to be too worried about, knowing what things are really, really important. Sometimes there's items that are very important that you don't think are that important. And then there's other items that you think are important that are really not that important. And so knowing that and having that perspective, and also as a good buyer broker, we're not emotionally tied to the transaction. And so we can stay level-headed while you're trying to make a very emotional decision. And so sometimes the pictures and the house wow you into saying, I want this house, but in reality, it may not really match up with what you're looking for. And a good buyer broker will remind you that we had this interview and these were the things you were looking for. And there's 5 items or 4 or 5 items, and 2 of them are really, really big, and they're not here. I know this is beautiful, but the reality is that I don't think your lifestyle is going to match up with this house as pretty as it is. And so there's that. I mean, that's a whole nother situation for each person that's just so personal, And then there's vendor recommendations. Let's say you're going to find a house that you need to, redo the countertops, or you need to have some work done to it. We have great connections with vendors of all types. We also know pricing on things, so when someone says, "Hey, it's going to cost this," we say, "Yeah, actually, that's a little over." We know of another vendor that's very licensed, very qualified, that'll do that at a better rate. Or we know somebody that's, "Hey, that's too cheap, and that's not going to have a warranty on it," and there's going to be things that they're going to add on, and after you hire them, they're going to add on a whole bunch of other expenses. So there's a lot of that, and then we go into financial guidance, and helping you get pre-qualified, helping you understand the financial terms, helping you understand the whole mortgage industry and how it works, and getting pre-qualified and what you might need and what's normal and what to expect there. I mean, there's a ton of things. We haven't even touched on inspections. We have a house that gets inspected, and then what does this mean? Was someone there during the inspection? Meaning, was the buyer was the buyer present, or were you present, or were we present? And you see something on paper that sounds like the house is falling apart, but in reality, it's not a big deal. Or on reality, it sounds like it's no big deal, but it is a big deal. And we need to be conscious of that, and we need to be very careful, and we need to be very judicious on looking at the inspections and going through them, and really cruising through the inspections and seeing what is really vital, and what needs to be done, and maybe things that aren't, like I said, things that aren't vital that we can let slide. I mean, there's just tons of things. Then there's title work. We haven't even talked about title work. Title work, how does the title work? How does title insurance work? How does the title companies work? What are they going to want from you? What all is involved in that? Can you close remotely? Do you have to be there? What do you need to bring to closing? When do you expect to get your keys? Tons and tons and tons of details there. Then there's the moving, the whole moving side of things that we help with. We have good movers that help. We have people that you can hire just to move, by the hour, to move furniture, or to help you there, or to receive your truck, or to receive your some of your furniture, help put things together if they need to be assembled. I mean, there's a ton of stuff right there that a good buyer broker will help you with along the way, and help maybe connect you with the right people, or oversee it, or I've received cars, sent cars for people, have received furniture, just all kinds of things that we do that are on top of finding the house. So there's just a ton of things that buyer brokers do, and their value is amazing, worth every penny that is paid to a buyer broker. And so when you're interviewing someone to be your realtor, make sure that you're when they say full service, that they're really full service, that they're not just gonna, hey, I'll take you and show you. They're not just an Uber driver that's gonna take you to a house and walk in and say, I don't know, just, do you like it? If you like it, I'll write it up. You want more than that, in my opinion, or you should expect more than that in this market. And if you work with Jill and I, you'll get what I just explained, plus more. I may do a second video on this and cover part 2 on this. And add a few things on here, but that's just a broad 30,000 foot view of what we do as buyer brokers. And I'm telling you, we have had saved so many buyers, from making a bad decision, or encouraged them not to make an offer on a property because it just wasn't a fit for them, or it needed way more work than they really understood. And so when you're working with a buyer broker, you don't want just an order taker. You don't want just someone that's going to be the Uber driver. You really want someone that knows the market, that knows the area, that knows the industry, that knows the purchase agreement, that knows the finance, that knows the title, that knows a whole genre of information. And you can get that when you work with Jill and I. So we'd love to talk to you and interview you and see what your needs are for real estate needs. If you're ever needing someone, please reach out and call us at 505-480-2478. We look forward to meeting you, and we look forward to serving you.